Hi, my friends. Today I want to present you a new story. Enjoy watching it.
The invitation felt heavy in my hands, weighted with the memories it dragged up from the depths. I turned it over, the elegant lettering mocking me with its golden shimmer. Ariella and Matteo cordially invite you. My throat tightened. My sister's wedding was the last place I wanted to be, yet here it was, a formal reminder from my past, daring me to show up. Connor glanced over, catching my expression as I reread the invitation for what must have been the 10th time. "You're going, aren't you?" he asked, his voice calm yet laced with concern. He'd heard enough of my family to know what this event meant. Our son, oblivious to my turmoil, played in the corner, filling the room with his delighted babbling. "I don't know," I whispered. "It feels like walking into a trap." Connor's hand covered mine, warm and steady. "Sometimes we have to face them, Yasmin," he said softly. "Or they'll keep haunting us." The hall where the wedding was held was palatial, draped in pristine white linens and glittering lights, like a fairy tale I'd been invited to by accident. I felt out of place, a single dark spot in an ocean of blinding elegance. Then from across the room my parents spotted me. The cold gleam in their eyes was unmistakable, unwelcoming, as if I were the interruption they'd been dreading. My mother approached, her smile thin, a mask hiding her distaste. "So," she murmured, her gaze flicking over my dress dismissively, "you actually showed up. I suppose you couldn't resist witnessing a real wedding." I clenched my jaw, fighting to keep my voice steady. "I'm here because Ariella invited me." The words felt strange, hollow, as if I were speaking from another life. Ariella swept up beside her, glowing in her wedding gown, her smile smug. "Did you really think you could slip by without drawing attention?" She leaned in close, her tone a low whisper. "We've always known you were too timid to make anything of yourself." A flicker of anger surged in me, but before I could respond, Connor appeared at my side. His arm wrapped around me protectively, his expression calm but his gaze unwavering as he addressed my family. "If you'll excuse us," he said, his voice firm, "my wife doesn't need to prove herself here. She has her own family now." My mother's eyes widened as she processed his words, her gaze drifting to our son, whose laughter had caught the attention of several guests nearby. The sting of defeat flashed briefly across her face. As we walked away, Ariella's laughter echoed behind us, loud and forced, trying to drown out her sister's small triumph. The reception hall buzzed with laughter and clinking glasses as the wedding celebration roared on, but a low tension simmered beneath the polished surface. Connor and I found our seats near the back, partially hidden from the crowd. Just as I started to relax, I noticed Matteo, Ariella's new husband, watching us. His eyes flickered between Connor and me, a flicker of curiosity, and perhaps suspicion in his gaze. Connor leaned in, voice low. "He's noticed something, hasn't he?" Before I could answer, Matteo made his way over, a polished smile masking the tension in his stride. "Connor," he greeted, extending a hand. "I've heard so much about you. It's an honor to finally meet Ariella's brother-in-law." Connor shook his hand firmly. "The honor's mine," he replied. "I know the family has great expectations for the two of you." Matteo glanced at me, and I could see the questions swimming in his eyes, like he was searching for some missing piece. "Yes, well, it's a big legacy to live up to," he said slowly, his eyes drifting back toward the head table where my parents were seated, chatting with prominent guests. "Your family is quite established." "Yes, they are," I said quietly, unable to mask the bitterness in my tone. His eyebrows raised, surprised. "I take it you didn't have the same path?" Connor's hand found mine under the table, his touch grounding me. I kept my voice steady. "No, they had different plans for me. My parents refused to pay for my college, saying I should be independent. They didn't see me as a proper fit for the family's ambitions." Matteo's gaze sharpened, his smile faltering. "Really?" he murmured. I hadn't heard that part. He straightened, glancing back toward Ariella, a new hesitation in his expression. "Excuse me for a moment," he said, quickly making his way back to her. As he walked away, Connor squeezed my hand, his eyes gleaming. "I think you just planted a seed." My heart thudded in my chest as we watched Matteo rejoin Ariella, his demeanor tense, his eyes filled with questions he hadn't come to the wedding expecting to ask. The aftermath of the wedding lingered like a storm cloud over my family. A week later, I found myself at my parents' clinic, a familiar tension thickening the air as I stepped through the doors. The fluorescent lights flickered above, casting eerie shadows over the waiting area, where patients sat silently, their eyes darting toward me. I hadn't visited since Ariella's wedding, and the memories of my family's disdain flooded back. Yasmin. My mother's voice rang out, sharp and unyielding. She emerged from her office, her expression unreadable. "What are you doing here?" "Just came to see how things were going," I replied, trying to keep my voice steady despite the flutter of anxiety in my stomach. "Your presence isn't required," she snapped, casting a glance at Connor, who was lingering at the entrance, especially not with him here. Connor stepped forward, the warmth of his presence bolstering me. "I'm here to support Yasmin. This is important for both of us." My mother's lips curled into a sneer. "Support? Or are you just here to get more information on our clinic? It's always been about the business for you, hasn't it?" Connor's jaw tightened, but he held his ground. "We both know that isn't true. Yasmin's been mistreated here. She deserves answers." Before my mother could retort, the door swung open, and Matteo walked in, a storm of uncertainty in his eyes. "I need to speak with you, Yasmin. It's urgent." I exchanged a glance with Connor before following Matteo into a small consultation room, the door clicking shut behind us. "What's going on?" I asked, my heart racing. Matteo leaned against the desk, his voice low and urgent. "I spoke with Ariella. She told me about your past, the way your family treated you." A wave of vulnerability washed over me. "Did she?" "Yeah, and it doesn't sit right with me," he said, rubbing the back of his neck. "I've been digging into your parents' clinic. There are whispers of unethical practices." I felt a chill run down my spine. "What do you mean?" "There's something off about the way they operate, financial records that don't add up." Ariella brushed it off, "But I think you should know. They might not be the paragons of virtue they pretend to be." "Why would you care?" I asked, suspicion creeping into my voice. "You're married to Ariella." "Because I respect the truth," he shot back, his eyes intense. "And I care about you." The sincerity in his gaze momentarily stunned me. I don't know what to believe anymore. My family's a house of lies." Just then, the clinic door swung open again, and my mother's voice sliced through the air. "Yasmin, we're busy. Come out here." Matteo shot me a warning glance, and I nodded, reluctantly following him back into the reception area. I could feel the weight of my mother's stare as she assessed the situation, suspicion written all over her face. "You're not welcome here," she declared, her voice low and dangerous, eyes narrowing at Matteo. As I stepped forward, my resolve hardened. This is my life, and I won't be silenced anymore. The tension crackled between us, an unspoken war igniting in the air. As I stood there, surrounded by the remnants of a family I once thought I knew, I realized I was ready to uncover the truth, no matter the cost. The days that followed my confrontation at the clinic were a whirlwind of uncertainty. I found myself anxiously pacing the living room, the walls adorned with pictures of Connor and me, smiling faces that felt like a lie now. I was on the brink of unveiling a truth my family had buried, but my heart raced with fear at what that truth might reveal. One afternoon, as I scrolled through social media, I stumbled upon a post that sent ice through my veins. Ariella was hosting a family gathering at the clinic. The invitation, bright and cheerful, felt like a taunt. The last thing I wanted was to step back into that suffocating environment, but I knew I had to confront them again. "Are you sure about this?" Connor asked, concern etched across his face as I shared my plan. "I don't want to see you hurt." I nodded, determination hardening my resolve. I need to face them. If they're hiding something, I can't let it go. That evening, I arrived at the clinic, my heart pounding. The familiar sense of antiseptic and old furniture hit me as I stepped inside. Laughter echoed down the hallway, but it felt hollow. I took a deep breath, readying myself for the storm ahead. As I entered the gathering, the atmosphere shifted. Conversations halted and all eyes turned to me. "Look who decided to show up," my mother remarked, her voice dripping with disdain. "I'm here for the family," I replied, forcing a smile that didn't reach my eyes. "Family?" Ariella echoed, her tone mocking. "You mean the family you abandoned?" "Enough," Connor interjected, stepping protectively beside me. "Yasmin deserves to be here just as much as you do." Ariella crossed her arms, her gaze icy. What a shame your husband feels the need to defend you. After all, he's just a glorified assistant. Stop it, I shouted, my voice trembling with rage. You think your petty insults can break me? Look at this place. It's a facade. Silence enveloped the room. My mother's eyes narrowed. What are you implying? Your clinic is struggling, isn't it? I pressed, heart racing. You've covered up so much, and now it's unraveling. You don't know anything. Ariella snapped, but there was a crack in her voice. Is that why you're still living in my shadow? I countered, feeling the adrenaline rush through me. Pretending to be something you're not. Matteo stepped forward, his expression serious. Ariella, maybe it's time we looked at the facts. Yasmin might be onto something. No. My mother shouted, her voice trembling with rage. You're just trying to destroy us? You don't belong here. My heart pounded, but I stood my ground. You can't silence me anymore. Your lies are suffocating. I'm done playing the part of the neglected daughter. The tension in the room peaked as Ariella's face turned crimson. You'll regret this, Yasmin. You've gone too far. Regret? I shot back, my voice steady. I won't regret standing up for myself. You think your facade can keep me quiet, but I'm breaking it. With that, I turned and stormed out of the clinic, leaving behind the stunned faces of my family. As I reached my car, I felt a rush of triumph mixed with fear. I had taken a step into the unknown, but I knew the battle had just begun. The following week, whispers of the confrontation at the clinic had spiraled out of control. Rumors spread through the community like wildfire, and I braced myself for the fallout. As I prepared for Connor's annual charity gala, a sense of dread loomed over me. The gala, meant to celebrate contributions to the local hospital, now felt like a stage for my family's impending collapse. That evening, I slipped into a deep blue gown, its fabric heavy against my skin, a reminder of the weight I carried. Connor entered the room, his expression warm yet concerned. You look stunning, Yasmin, but I can see you're still shaken. Are you ready for this? I forced a smile, but the unease twisted in my stomach. I'll be fine. I just want to get through tonight without a scene. As we arrived at the gala, the hall sparkled with elegance, crystal chandeliers casting a warm glow over the sea of faces. I took a deep breath, steeling myself against the probing eyes of our friends and acquaintances. But it wasn't long before I spotted Ariella across the room, her presence like a dark cloud. Look who it is, she sneered, approaching with Matteo by her side, the disgraced daughter and her wannabe doctor husband. Leave us alone, Ariella, Connor warned, his voice steady. Tonight is not the time for your games. Games? Ariella scoffed, her eyes glinting with malice. This is about family. Yasmin seems to have forgotten hers. Maybe because you've made it impossible to be part of it, I shot back, my heart racing. Your lies are suffocating, and I won't stand by anymore. Matteo shifted uneasily, glancing between us. Ariella, is this really necessary? We're all here for a good cause. Good cause? Ariella laughed bitterly. You mean the facade Connor's family is trying to build? Suddenly, a hush fell over the crowd. Connor, sensing the tension, squeezed my hand, and I took a step forward. What's happening with your clinic, Ariella? People deserve to know the truth. The moment hung in the air, charged with disbelief. Ariella's face flushed with anger, but before she could respond, a local reporter, intrigued by the scene, approached us. Excuse me, are you discussing the recent rumors about the clinic's financial troubles? Ariella's gaze darted around the room, panic flickering in her eyes. No, that's all just gossip, she insisted, but her voice wavered. Is it true that the clinic is struggling? Is that why you resorted to cheap tricks at your wedding? I pressed, my heart pounding. The crowd leaned in, captivated. You have no idea what you're talking about, Ariella retorted, her voice rising. You've always been the one with a problem. Enough. Matteo intervened, his voice firm. Ariella, you can't keep lying. This isn't just about you anymore. In that moment, I saw the cracks in Ariella's facade begin to widen. The crowd murmured, whispers swelling into a chorus of concern. What's happening? Someone asked, and my heart raced with anticipation. Suddenly, Ariella's composure crumbled, her voice breaking. You don't understand. The clinic is fine. We're doing everything we can. She turned to the reporter, desperation in her eyes. You have to believe me. But it was too late. The seed of doubt had been planted. Gasps filled the room as more people turned to listen. The air was thick with tension, and I felt the weight of my family's unraveling history pressing down on us all. As Ariella stumbled back, Matteo caught her arm, his expression torn. "What are we going to do?" I glanced at Connor, who nodded, his eyes reflecting the support I needed. "You need to come clean, Ariella. This cycle of deceit ends now." With the weight of the moment heavy on our shoulders, I knew this was just the beginning. The public collapse of my family was at hand, and I was determined to see the truth emerge from the ashes of their lies. The aftermath of the gala left me reeling, but it also sparked a change I never anticipated. The following morning, as sunlight poured through our bedroom window, I knew I had to break free from the toxic grip of my past. Connor was still asleep beside me, his peaceful expression a stark contrast to the turmoil within. I slipped out of bed, determined to reclaim my life. At the kitchen table, I sipped my coffee, pondering the next steps. Connor soon joined me, concern etched on his face. "You're quiet this morning. What's on your mind, Yasmin?" I hesitated, feeling the weight of our last encounter. "I think it's time I confront my family for good. I need closure, not just for me, but for them as well." He frowned, setting his mug down. "Are you sure? They've shown you nothing but disdain." "I know," I replied, determination surging through me. "But I can't let their negativity control my life anymore. I want to build something new." Connor nodded, the warmth of his support wrapping around me like a blanket. "If that's what you want, I'll be right there with you." The following day, I gathered my courage and called Ariella. "I want to meet," I said, my voice steady. "We need to talk." Her response was icy. "What do you want, Yasmin? More accusations?" "Just the truth," I shot back. "Meet me at the cafe by the clinic. We can't keep pretending." To my surprise, she agreed. I arrived early, heart racing as I watched the door, expecting confrontation but hoping for understanding. When Ariella entered, her expression was a mix of defiance and uncertainty. "Why did you want to meet?" she asked, crossing her arms tightly. "Because we're family, Ariella," I said, keeping my tone even. "Despite everything, I still want to try to mend this." "Mend? After everything you said at the gala?" She scoffed, bitterness lacing her words. "You're the reason our family is falling apart." "That's not true," I countered, frustration bubbling up. "You need to face the consequences of your actions. It's not just me who suffered." Ariella's face fell, the fight momentarily leaving her. "I didn't mean for things to get so out of hand. It spiraled." "Then let's talk about it. You can't keep pretending everything is fine," I urged, leaning closer, my voice softening. "What's really going on with the clinic?" Her shoulders slumped, and for a brief moment, vulnerability flickered in her eyes. "It's not just me. Mom and Dad are drowning. The clinic is failing." A wave of sympathy washed over me, but I held firm. "Then you need to own up to it. You can't fix it by lying. Easy for you to say. You've escaped." She shot back, her voice rising again. "You have a perfect life now." "It's not perfect, Ariella. I've fought for every piece of it," I replied, my tone earnest. "You can too. Let's stop the cycle of deceit." Just then, Matteo entered the cafe, his expression tense. He approached us cautiously. "What's going on here?" "Ariella and I are trying to talk," I said, holding my breath. "About the clinic, about the truth." The morning sun streamed through the kitchen window, illuminating the chaos of our breakfast routine. Connor was flipping pancakes while our son Sam giggled, trying to steal bites before they were even on the plate. Laughter filled our home, a stark contrast to the storm brewing just beyond our front door. The ringing of the phone interrupted our cheerful atmosphere. I glanced at the caller ID and my heart sank. "Mom." I hesitated before answering, feeling the familiar wave of anxiety wash over me. "Yasmin." My mother's voice crackled through the line, laced with desperation. "We need to talk." "What do you want?" I asked, trying to keep my tone steady. "Your father and I are in a bind. The clinic is struggling and we need money," she said, her words dripping with entitlement. "No," I replied, feeling a surge of anger. "I've given enough to the clinic over the years. It's time for you to face the consequences of your actions." "Yasmin, this is your family we're talking about," she exclaimed, her voice rising. You can't just turn your back on us. I'm not turning my back. I'm choosing to live my life for myself and my family, I said, my heart racing. I refuse to support a system built on deceit and manipulation any longer. Her silence spoke volumes, the disbelief hanging heavily between us. You think you can just walk away? She finally muttered, bitterness seeping into her words. You're defective, remember? The sting of her words ignited a fire within me. I am not defective, and I won't be your scapegoat anymore. You've poisoned my life for too long. This ends now. I hung up, my hands shaking. Connor turned, concern etched on his face. What happened? They want money for the clinic, I said, trying to steady my voice. They think I owe them something. You don't owe them anything, Yasmin, he reassured, wrapping his arms around me. You've built a beautiful life here. Focus on us. I will, I said, my determination solidifying. No more ties to my past. Later that afternoon, I walked into the park, Sam's laughter trailing behind me. The air was crisp, and for the first time in weeks, I felt a sense of peace. As I pushed Sam on the swing, I thought about the toxic web my family had spun around me. The memories flooded back, moments of neglect, my parents' favoritism towards Ariella, and the suffocating expectation to conform. Just then, I spotted Matteo approaching, a troubled look on his face. Yasmin, he said, halting in front of me. I need to talk. About what? I asked, my heart racing. I spoke to Ariella. She's worried about you, about how you're handling things, he said, his tone sincere. I'm done worrying about them, I said firmly, and you should be too. Your loyalty to them is misplaced. They're dragging you down with them. Matteo shifted uncomfortably, his brow furrowing. But they're my family, Yasmin. I can't just abandon them. Family doesn't have to mean loyalty at the cost of your happiness. I replied, frustration bubbling beneath the surface. They've hurt you too, Matteo. Can't you see that? He sighed, looking away. You're right. But it's hard to let go. Then make a choice, I urged. You can either continue supporting their toxic behavior or break free and build your own life. It's your decision. As I said this, I felt a weight lifting off my shoulders. I was finally embracing the truth of my situation. I no longer had to carry the burdens of their mistakes. Later that night, as Connor and I tucked Sam into bed, I felt a sense of tranquility enveloping me. You okay? Connor asked, brushing a strand of hair from my face. I am, I replied, smiling softly. I'm finally ready to let go of my past. I want to focus on us. On our family. Good, he said, pulling me close. That's where your strength lies. With each passing day, I began to shed the layers of toxicity my family had wrapped around me. I immersed myself in my role as a wife and mother, relishing every moment with Connor and Sam. We explored parks, took family trips, and created memories free from the chains of my past. In that moment, I realized that true strength comes not from enduring toxic relationships, but from knowing when to walk away.